This your boy D knows about back with another video. Say man, Cade versus Paolo. Cade versus Paolo. That was one of the best games you're ever going to see from rising stars in the NBA. Both had 45 or more in a playoff game. First time since we got Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray when they were on they come up. Now, I think Paolo and Kay is such an I'm gonna say interesting dynamic because they both number one overall picks. Kay went number one overall in 21, and I think Paolo went number one overall in 22. They came back to back and they both were highly touted coming out of high school. Even though Cade was number two behind Jalen Green in 2020, Paolo was number four. He was behind Amani Bates, Jaden Hardy, and Chet Holmgren in 21. Look how that's playing out. But it's such an interesting thing because I think coming out of high school, Cade definitely had more pedigree than Paolo. I think coming out of college, Paolo had more pedigree than Cade because Paolo in college. He went to Duke. Coach K's final year led them to the Final Four. The only player he had that was a actual NBA level talent was Mark Williams, the center. Cade went to Oklahoma State. I don't even think they made the tournament. He kind of wasted a year in college. I think he had some kind of connections. He probably got paid under the table. Let's just keep it a buck. Respectfully, I still got love for Cade. My comp for Cade when he was coming out into the draft, I thought he was like a Paul Pierce. People was trying to compare him to Luca. I thought it was more Paul Pierce just because the size, the strength, the scoring ability. I don't think he's the level of passer that Luka is. Uh, it's like Paul Pierce with more playmaking ability, more point guard ability, but it's still in that same vein. Not the most efficient. That's what I've seen from Cade. But Paul Pierce, that's a hell of a comp. And then you think drafting Cade number one overall, he could be better than Paul Pierce. So that was my comp for Cade. Paolo coming out of college, I thought it was like mellow but more serious. I thought he was a more serious mellow, bigger, better defender. I don't think he was the scorer. Well, I know he wasn't the scorer that Melo was, but I thought it was that same mode. Big physical, jumbo wing, power forward who can score. I thought he was a better playmaker than Carmelo coming out, but in that similar type of mode. The mid-range shot is just not as good as Melo. Just the scoring in general, not as good as Melo. But his overall impact of the game is, and he's a playoff riser. Now, I also think when it comes to Cade versus Paolo, Paolo was winning in terms of early NBA success. Paolo was rookie of the year. Cade finished third in rookie of the year. Paolo, in his second year, he was an all-star, and he took the Cavs to 7 and made it to the playoffs. And I just think Paolo, to me, he hit the ground running. I thought it's things that Paolo did at Duke that I was like, I trust that. Cade really coming out of college, he didn't really have no opposition for the number one overall pick. Some people wanted Evan Mobley. I don't think too many basketball people were thinking Jalen Green were better than Cade or Evan Mobley. I think Jalen Green was he flashed a lot of talent, but when it comes to winning, I still think people value what Cade could do on the ball. People didn't know what Mobley was going to be able to do offensively, even though he got KG comparisons. Jalen Green got Zach Levine comparisons, if I'm not mistaken, but Cade was getting Luca, Paul Pierce, Grant Hill, those type of comparisons. So I think it was more of a consensus that Cade was going to be number one. So he didn't have as many detractors being the number one overall pick. Paolo, on the other hand, it was musical chairs. Chet Holmgren was the number one player in that class. Even though Paolo had some weird stuff at Duke too, where he was getting a lot of I ain't gonna say Charlie horses. What they call? What is it called when you just dehydrated? What is them things called? It's crazy. Cramps. Like Paolo was dealing with cramps, but when they went 1v1 Paolo versus Chet, Paolo was cooking Chet. And I had Paolo as a legit number one overall option in terms of scoring. I had Chet as a superstar role player. He was even a role player in college. Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith was very limited in terms of creation. I like Jabari Smith a lot, but then it was like I don't think he'll probably ever be able to dribble. He was not flexible in his body enough, even though I like the shooting. I think I kind of compare Jabari Smith to Rashard Lewis. But he just as an athlete, he's just not that fluid. I think Chet, I don't know who I compared Chet to, but it was musical chairs. Some people thought Chet should went number one. Some people thought Paolo. Some people thought Jabari Smith. I thought Paolo should be the number one overall guy, but I think Paolo coming out of high school, he was definitely more disrespected than Cade. Coming into the draft, Paolo was more disrespected than Cade. Paolo clearly had a better first 3 seasons than Cade. The thing where Cade started to separate himself, he started to legit look like his fourth year when he finally got JB as a coach. He finally got all NBA, finally became an all-star. I think he finished seventh in MVP voting his fourth year. He got to the playoffs against the Knicks, and he had a good first round. But I think Paolo was even better in the playoffs. Like they first playoff introduction, Paolo was better. Paolo, his first introduction into the playoffs, his sophomore year, his second year in the league against the Cleveland Cavaliers, he averaged 27, 9, and 4 on 46, 40, and 76. Like his stats, Paolo's stats is way better in the playoffs than his stats are in the regular season. Cade is good in the regular season. In that first series against the Knicks, he just didn't shoot well. I mean, uh he just didn't shoot well. I think he was like 25, 9, and 8 on 43% from the field, 18 from the three, 83 from the free throw line. But right now, against the Magic, he's at 33, 7, and 6. And he's shooting 45 from the field, 35 from 3, 85 from the free throw line. So Cade in his second playoffs is looking way better than he did in his first playoffs. Paolo is pretty much is consistent. Paolo, like I said, he was 27, 9, and 4 his first series. And right now, currently, I think Paolo is pretty much doing the same thing, if I'm not mistaken. He's like at 27 a game. So I like this because they're both number one overall picks. I think the Magic wanted the Pistons in round one. I think the Magic are more talented than the Pistons. But I think Cade and that step back on Desmond Bain to put them up 5 with like a few seconds left, I thought that was big time. Man. That was big time shot. And I just think Paolo has more talent. I think the Magic wanted they wanted the Pistons. So I don't know. It's just interesting. Cade better in the regular season. More looked at like as a legit top 5 player. Paolo is a playoff riser easily. He averages 27 in the playoffs. He averages like 23 in the regular season. He's a better shooter. He's a better shooter in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. So Paolo's a playoff riser. Cade is more legit as a top 5 player. And I just find this series actually interesting. I'm tired of thinking about the Lakers, KD, LeBron. Like that series is a circus. I get why it's entertaining to people, but KD's played one game. Luca hasn't played any games. Austin Reeves has played one game. Like, like I think the Magic versus the Pistons is the most interesting series that's going on right now. Cade is a top 5 player, doesn't have the help as a Paolo with the Magic. Paolo is a number one overall pick, potentially a top 10 player if he can put it all together. He had a weird season, but in this playoffs, he's showing us who he is. So I don't think people is understanding what's going on. This is a big time series, man. Cade versus Paolo is a big time matchup, potentially a rivalry is budding because Tobias Harris and Paolo do not like each other. They don't like each other. And I ain't gonna lie. Of course, I wanted to watch this game, but my attention was divided because the NBA scheduling is terrible. The NBA does so much dumb stuff. Why was the game on at 6? Because I think Pistons and Magic came on at 6, and then Cavs versus Raptors came on at 6:30. I'm very interested in that series too because I like RJ Barrett on the Raptors. I don't believe in Scotty Barnes. I like Donovan Mitchell on the Cavs. I don't believe in Evan Mobley. So it's a lot of things I'm watching for. You got the James Harden piece of things. So it's like they divided my attention. So I was in and out on both of those games. So I really didn't get to just soak in how special Cade and Paolo was playing. So that's just a slight nitpick. But I don't know, bro. The best players under 25. You of course you got Wimby, you got Ant, you got Cade, Paolo right there. Um, you got Cooper Flag right there. This is an important series, bro. Cade versus Paolo is an important series, and I'm appreciating it, man. I'm appreciating it, and I don't know. I don't know because I was bigger on Paolo than I was Cade. Cade just has earned my full respect. Jalen Duren has been terrible. His second best player has been terrible. His third best player is Asar Thompson. He can't shoot. He can't do a lot of things. He's a good overall superstar role player. But in terms of offensive help, bro, Cade's best offensive help in this series has been Tobias Harris. And it's literally memes about Tobias Harris. Jimmy Butler saying, Tobias Harris over me? That's been Cade's second best offensive player this year. So I respect what Cade's doing. I'm respecting what Paolo's doing. Paolo has more help. Paolo's the bigger playoff riser. Cade is, but the thing is, Cade is averaging 33, 7, and 6 in this series 45, 35, and 85. So bro, I'm loving this series, man. And now I'm going to pay more attention to it. I think it needs to be talked about more. I think it needs to be more Paolo and Cade talks, less LeBron and KD talks for sure. Because we're seeing something special here. I think Cade is what 24, Paolo's 23. We're seeing something special, and I don't know. Right now, I don't know who's better. I guess we'll see at the end of the series. But they literally put their teams on their back last night, and it was Cade versus Paolo. Legit, me versus you. The Cade, he hit the shot. It was everything you want in a superstar duel. Cade and Paolo delivered on, and I just me personally, I think I'm gonna appreciate it more. Both number one overall picks. They came one right after the other. Um, two different sets of expectations, two different successes when it becomes the early part of the career. Cade wasn't having much success. Paolo hit the ground running. Cade came back and it looked like he's a better player than Paolo, but Paolo's still trying to maintain his superstar status. He was getting doubted. Like this is a great series, bro. Two superstars. Um, Started in very different places, and I just want to see where it ends up. But y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comment section. Who'd you rather have, Cade or Paolo? What's the gap? I, in the playoffs, say Paolo's a different guy, bro. I'm judging Paolo based off damn, because you can't leave out the regular season, but he's better in the playoffs. So Paolo, man, very interesting. But this is what he knows about. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm gone.
Found some shit I love to do, so I can live comfortable. Searching for a peace of mind, need that when it's time to rhyme. Perfect in every line, any chance I get, and I know it takes time, but I will never quit.